Hello everyone, this is Health Highlights. Health Highlights is a show about health professionals and the people and the stories behind the names that we often hear about but we seldom get to meet. And you've probably heard that there's so much talk at the moment around healthy lifestyle and even drinking lots of water, but I want you to think about when was the last time you considered your breathing and healthy breathing and what that actually did, because we can live 40 days without food, we can live for 3 days without water, but we can only live for 3 minutes without air. So today we're going to be delving a bit deeper into that thing of breathing and breathing health and how important that is for our health. And here we are at the Salt Therapy Room here in Newcastle, and we've got Shauna Hartley with us. Thank you, Shauna, for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Simon. Thank you for having us.
Now, I must confess, I've never been in the Salt Room before, but I've been very excited to come today because I've heard so much about what is happening here. So can you tell us a little bit about what we've got going on in this room?
Well, this is a salt room. As you can see, it's got loose salt on the floor, and it's got the walls and the ceiling are covered in salt. However, it's actually the hole in the wall where there's a halo generator. And that special machine grinds up pharmaceutical grade salt and disperses it into the air. Now, it's a super fine aerosol. You probably can't see it or taste it, but we have a special gauge up there that tells us what the concentration is in the room so we know what's going on. And it provides some amazing benefits that are clinically proven. Wonderful.
Well, it just feels healthy just sitting here, I must say. But how did you actually get to be coming into this sort of industry? It's certainly a wonderful thing, but how did you sort of find yourself becoming a salt therapist or whatever it is you call yourself?
Well, it's a great story. I find that natural health is the way to go, rather than proactive healthcare for me is number one, rather than waiting for a doctor or a pill to fix you once you're broken. So my story, how I ended up in the Salt Therapy Center in Newcastle, is that I was looking to buy a salt lamp. I had a damp hallway in my downstairs of my house where I kept getting mold on my shoes, which I'd clean off, and I figured if I could get a salt lamp to help dry that air out, that would do good. Came into the Salt Therapy Center, and the girl behind the desk was an RN, and she said that the nasty cough that I had that was months old could use with some intensive treatment in the salt room. Never heard of it.
No.
I had my first session and I could breathe a little easier, but by the 6th session, I had no cold. I had no cough. I was clear and I was completely sold on salt therapy. Literally, I bought the business.
Wow, there you go. That is amazing. And when did you buy the business? How long ago?
That was 3 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're enjoying being a part of this and helping people's lives?
It's fascinating. It is so rewarding to help people stay well naturally.
Wonderful. And is this a salt lamp that you were talking about?
Yeah,
Behind us here?
Everyone's seen salt lamps now.
Yeah.
They come from the Himalayan regions. You put them in their house. They help condition the air. They help people with asthma, and they help get rid of the electronic smog, which is that man-made positive ion-rich environment that makes us all feel yucky.
Wonderful. So, burning question. How does salt therapy work? And I'll let you start with that first.
Yeah. So I mentioned that we're in the salt room and that it's got the dry salt air. This is actually a hermetically sealed room so that you're the wet thing when you come in. The dry salt air comes in. The science behind salt, we know that it's sodium chloride, and those minerals have a couple of properties that we know about. So it's antibacterial, antifungal, and antimicrobial. Absolutely no germs can live on salt. So when you come into a salt room, you're breathing that in, and it starts by killing any germs that you have, and then the other thing that salt does really well is pulls out any moisture, right? So it's attractive of moisture. And doing that helps to pull out inflammation in your body. It helps to thin congestion, and there's a very high content of negative ions naturally occurring in salt.
Wonderful. So, what are the conditions that you would come in here for to get treatment with this room?
Well, over the years, centuries actually, salt therapy has been used to deal with 3 main issues. So, anything from your mental state, anxiety, depression, to skin issues and respiratory. So, it's been a natural treatment, if you will, for those issues Since medieval times, we have chronicled monks taking people underground into the mines. The first clinical study was done in 1843, and that was when a physician noted that his town people in Poland had generally poor health, except for the guys that worked underground in the salt mines.
Wow.
And they had robust happiness and breathing and skin, and that's when the first study on salt therapy happened. Now it's a mainstream care in Israel, Russia, Poland, and all these other Eastern European countries. And it's just starting to come across the rest of the world thanks to the halo generators that have been around for about a decade.
Wonderful.
And that was created by a pulmonologist in Russia.
Wow.
So it's kind of changed the world, and we can recreate that healing microclimate so we don't have to go underground into the mines anymore.
Well, I feel like I'm underground right now, sitting here in this beautiful place. So, okay, I've got a respiratory condition.
Yep.
How does it benefit me if I've got a respiratory condition at the moment?
Well, I would talk to you if you truly did have one. We kind of question our people to figure out exactly what goes on with them, and we know different treatments that will happen in different concentration of the salt. But generally, what happens in your first session, whether you have a cold or you have asthma or hay fever, is that the salt will sterilize things in your nasal passageways. Then it helps pull out any congestion or mucus. And say you have a cold, that stuff's going to come out. It's going to be yucky the next day. But then if you come in for another round of salt, that salt can work deeper. So the salt keeps going deeper and deeper into your lungs. Because it has a mucolic effect and a natural decongestant, it's going to thin out that mucus and help you get it out. It's like a bronchial brush. It's one of the few ways that you can clean your entire respiratory system out.
Wonderful. And okay, let's go. Skin conditions. If I've got a skin condition, how does it benefit people, and what sort of skin conditions would I come in with?
Well, we see a lot of psoriasis, dermatitis, and just those weird skin rashes that nobody's really able to say what is, and people come as a last resort to us. The salt will fall on your skin. It helps sterilize it, it helps pull out the inflammation, and then it helps to balance your pH levels. So it takes longer than a steroid cream, but instead of pushing down the problem, it helps to bring it up and out. So you really get to the root of the issue. And what you're left with is super healthy skin and long-lasting results.
Fantastic. So we've talked about the three main conditions. Is there any other benefits to coming into a salt therapy room?
Well, you've missed the best.
Oh, okay.
And that is the sense of well-being that you get. So
Okay.
we get people with anxiety and depression. Most of the time it's a side effect for most people, and they find they sleep really well at night. But when you get that turbocharged boost of negative ions, your body's going to use it in whatever way it wants, whether you need to sleep better, think more clearly, boost your immune system. It doesn't really matter what it is. You just end up with this level of bliss that you walk out with that you can keep with you. It's just lovely.
Well, I am feeling very blissful, I have to say, right now. So that is wonderful to hear that sort of result for anyone's well-being. And I'm sure you out there, that would be wonderful just to try it out, to be honest. It is certainly an experience to sit in here and just to smell that salt. So now, question for you. Why would I want to come into a room like this when I could go to the beach? Is there any benefit from coming in here rather than just being at the beach?
Well, there are, but I want to say if you can go to the beach, please go.
Yeah.
I think that swimming and running and walking in that salty air is one of the best things you can do for you. Not only because of the salty air, but because you're getting that circulation. But there's plenty of people that can't get to the beach for whatever reason, or people that really want to concentrate on resolving an issue naturally. So if that happens, come to a salt room. What we can do is like a turbocharged treatment of going to the beach. Some people say that a salt session is the equivalent of a week at the beach on holiday.
Wow, that's very good. I'd like to spend a week at the beach, but I'd also like to get healthier quicker too. So we can't always do that, can we? So that's why this is such an important part of their health regime. So kids, can kids come in here and is it good for them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We start our children at 6 months old. And we find that kids are super responsive to salt therapy, mainly because they haven't had their conditions very long, right?
Yeah.
The quicker they can resolve.
Absolutely.
And that's both for skin and respiratory issues. But the best part is that kids have a ball. They're in here with the beach toys and they're playing in the salt, never having a clue that they're getting a health treatment. So those are usually 30-minute sessions. If it was you need 45 minutes because your lungs are bigger and you're a bigger guy.
Yeah.
But the adult sessions are a little bit more subdued than the children. We sit in chairs under soft lights, soft music. Many people read while others, like myself, just doze. We do meditation classes in here, and it's just a really groovy time to unplug and de-stress. So I'm going to say that for the adults, that de-stressing time is such a wonderful thing to do that it's going to help your health more than you really know.
Well, look, we don't often slow down, do we? So just to take a bit of time to do that and then breathe in some salt. Wow, wonderful.
It's beautiful.
So now, that's to my final question. Can we get overexposed or can we get too much salt into our system?
Double-edged sword on that, because many doctors are saying to reduce your sodium intake.
Absolutely, that's right.
This is a different deal.
Absolutely.
So when they're talking about sodium intake, the main thing they're talking about is eating salt, and that's really they're talking about eating bad salt, because if you ate the pink salt, it would be good for you with all the different minerals, but that's not my job to talk about. I can talk about salt therapy, which is not for your digestive tract, it's for your respiratory tract. There are no known side effects for salt therapy. It's 100% natural, drug-free, with no side effects. It's clinically proven. At the Salt Therapy Center, we say that anybody can come in as long as you don't have an acute phase of any disease. And please ask your doctor before you come, but don't be surprised if your doctor hasn't experienced salt therapy. Now, we do have a policy where we ask doctors if they'd like to come in and experience it on their own to understand how wonderful salt therapy is.
Wonderful. Well, look, I'm glad that I've come in and to experience it and to hear your story. So thank you so much for your time. It has been very enlightening to hear all about what you're doing and the incredible work here. And so, look, thanks again and have a wonderful day. And thank you everybody for coming and joining us. If you have any more information about salt therapy or want to find out, you can jump on the Salt Therapy Newcastle's website, which will appear right now, their phone number, and I'm sure Shireen will be more than happy to answer any of your questions if you want to make a comment on our Facebook page. Look, thanks for joining us. Have a fantastic week. Remember, we'll be here same time, 12:30 next week on a Wednesday. Remember, healing is a gift, health a responsibility. Have a fantastic week. See you later.
Bye.